coordinator of BAF department, that is Bachelor's of Accounting and Finance. You're watching National Live webinar on role of SEBI in investors protection. I owe my gratitude to founder principal Dr. J.C. Purswani and IQAC coordinator Dr. Khushbu Purswani, who always encourage us to organize such national level webinars for the students, for giving the practical knowledge, what exactly the industries are going through. That is what the aim of our organizing such webinars. Talking about the resource person, we have with us Mr. Mirani. Keyur Mirani, sir, is completed company secretary as well as Masters of Commerce. Sir has experience of more than a decade in various industries and various companies. Sir is handling secretarial practices, legal matters, and as well as the corporate matters. He has worked with Reliance Group, Z Group, All Cargo Logistics, and Blue Stars. He has a multiple of positions he has handled, and which is not limited to just company secretary, but also company, sir has handled so many compliance officers also. Presently, he is practicing as a company secretary and advising various corporates, individuals, as well as startups. He is also the founder of Credas Trusteeship Service Private Limited, engaged in trusteeship businesses. Sir has awarded as an outstanding employee by the CEO of All Cargo Logistics and declared as a high potential employee. Congratulations, sir, at Z Group. He has imparted his knowledge of company law, economics law, tax law in recognized classes in Dombivli. So I welcome sir on this webinar, that is role of SEBI in investors protection. Talking about SEBI, it's a regulatory authority which was formed in the year 1992. That is Securities and Exchange Board of India. The main aim of this regulatory authority is responsible for regulation and safeguard of interest of the investors. That is investor protection, which is measured as when investors are investing into a multiple of securities to stop the malpractices in shares, stock market, mutual funds, etc. That is the main aim, how the SEBI is protecting the rights of the investors. So for having the in-depth knowledge on the topic, that is role of SEBI in investors protection, I officially welcome Mr. Keyur Mirani for the session. Over to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Varsha, for generous introduction. At the outset, I would like to thank principals and the management of S.S.T College, and special thanks to Mithili ma'am for inviting me and introducing to S.S.T College for giving such an webinar. So I'll start with the topic and I'll give you a brief idea. I'll share my PPT later on. As madam has said, SEBI's role is to protect the interest of the investors, and it has been done so many years now. It is established in 1992. Okay, now it is more than 2 decades where SEBI is already established and done very good work for the investors. But to start off with my topic, I would like to start with the basic of law. Why law has been formed, why law is being formed by the our government of India, and why law is been, how it has been developed, why law has come into picture. Otherwise, there is no law, there is nothing which makes you a discipline. The basic simple question is here is why law is formed. What is expectation? Why law is formed? Because there is something wrong, right? There is no discipline. There is some mischief. To protect that, government of India, like in India, we have two houses of parliament, like Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, forms a law on behalf of all citizens, and then we have to abide. I'll give you a simple example. If you are driving a car or a bike, if there is no traffic regulations, how the situation would be? It will be very difficult. Everybody will jump the signal, or there'll be no signal. You will have a speed limit. There is no speed limit. So to protect all of us and to protect interests of yourself and to the society, the law are formed. Generally, in the old era, kings and maharajas used to form a law or give a punishment. So in the law, there is a maxim called, when there is a law, there is a remedy. So if there is a law, remedy has to be there. So if somebody is not following the traffic rules and regulation, what you will do? You will penalize them, you will punish them. Okay. If somebody has put your car to the dash and put an accident, you have a claim against that. There is a remedy. There are traffic authority, where you can go and claim that this person has done wrong and I have this right and I has to be compensated in a such a way that I get a justice. So to give a big brief background, law is been formed to expectation. This is expected or the desired behavioral expectation from the citizens of India. Law are formed, and law formed by the parliament, by the all the MLAs, which we put to both the houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Once these guys approves this law, it becomes an act, and everybody has to follow, and it becomes law of land. And if you do not follow the law, there are consequences. If you do robbery, what would be the consequences? You will put in the jail. You've been given a punishment. You will be penalized. Okay. So law works in a two way. There is one is lawmaker, the other is law implementer. Okay. So lawmaker is government of India, and the law implementer are such as agency like SEBI, RBI, police, judiciary. All these are implementing agency who implement the law. If you do not follow the law of land, they will give you a punishment, they will put you in jail. So this is how the law is being formed. So why the basic idea is, because the law, you should understand why there is a law. It is an expected desired behavior from the citizen of India, and if you do not follow the law, there will be a consequences. Now coming back to the topic, who all are the investors? Before we understand why SEBI, let us understand who all are the investors. Investor means you and me. Who all are investors? Investor means, in a very layman's term, investor means any person who puts his money, his or her money, invest into some entity. It could be a partnership firm, it could be a public limited company, it could be a listed company, anything. Or it could be a bank where you keep your deposit, right? In the bank, you keep your deposit and you become a deposit holder, but indirectly, in a layman's language, you are invested your money into bank. In turn, bank will invest somewhere else and earn the interest and give you an interest. So as an investor, what are all your expectation? Now you understand the term investors. Who is investor? Who invests the funds from his pocket and expected something out of it. So investor, what it expect from the investment made? It expect a earning out of it or the return out of it. Okay, so if you keep a deposit with a bank, what would be your expectation? You would expect that you get the interest on time, and your repayment or the principal repayment has to be done on time. These all are the expectation or the rights. Once you put the money in a bank like a deposit, it is an expected that on time you will get the interest payment, and as and when you are in need of principal repayment or after completion of the tenure, supposedly you have kept FD for 1 year, you expect that after completion of 1 year you will get a principal repayment, and you will be ensured that that payment comes to your pocket without any hindrance or obstacle. So this is how the investor expectation. Now we'll come back to some little there are various types of instrument like FD. There could be a non-convertible debenture, like could be a bonds, government bonds. Like there is an equity investment where there is a different type of securities there, like equity, preference shares, convertible instruments, warrants. So we will try to understand where is the most हाईएस्ट रिस्क और द मोस्ट रिस्क, सबसे ज्यादा रिस्क कहाँ है व्हेन यू इन्वेस्ट, what are the risk involved as an investor? So you will divide this category of investment into two. One is debt, other is equity. अगर आप debt में डालते हो like in NCDs or other bonds, there is less risk because basically you're giving a loan. लोन में सिर्फ आपको एक्सपेक्टेशन क्या है कि आपका इंटरेस्ट टाइम पे मिल जाए और आपका पैसा वापस आ जाए. Okay, in equity, what happens? In equity, you become a shareholder or the partner with the other thing, other owner of the company. So you will be also exposed with the risk of the owner. Okay, in case of equity, it is more riskier because you come into in line with the owner of the company. But in equity, there are certain rights given to the shareholder of the company, which will come on later on. What all right is there? So in debt, basically, when you put the money into debt, आप ज्यादा नहीं देखते वहां पे. डेट में आपका इंटरेस्ट आ गया, आप कंपनी के बारे में ज्यादा नहीं जानना चाहेंगे, एक्सेप्ट आपको 1 साल में या 3 महीने में 6 महीने में आपको पता चल रहा है कि कंपनी क्या कर रही है और परफॉर्म कर रही है कि नहीं अच्छा कर रही है. बट वेन यू आर बिकम ए इक्विटी, यू वुड लाइक टू वोट ऑन द मैटर्स. जो वोट्स करना है एज अ राइट, आपको एज अ शेयर होल्डर आपको राइट मिलता है. यू कैन वोट ऑन द मैटर्स ऑफ द कंपनी. सो आप वोट करोगे, सो यू विल बी डिसाइडिंग एज अ पार्ट ऑफ द बोर्ड. आप उसके साथ डिसाइड कर रहे हो, कंपनी का जो मैनेजमेंट है उसके साथ डिसाइड कर रहे हो कि कंपनी को क्या करना है. सो देयर द रिस्क इज हाई बिकॉज आपने डिसीजन लिया, यू आर ऑल्सो पार्ट ऑफ दैट, एंड बेसिस दैट द कंपनी इज रनिंग. सो आपको इक्विटी में क्या होता है, अगर पैसा गया, कंपनी वाइंड अप होती है, तो एज अ शेयर होल्डर आपको कुछ भी नहीं मिलता है. अगर आपने उसको कंपनी को लोन दिया हुआ होता है और इन्वेस्ट किया होता है एज एन लोन, तो आपको पैसा रिकवर करने का चांसेस है. उसके जो भी एसेट्स है उसमें से सबसे पहले डेटर्स को पे किया जाता है, या लोन जिसने दिया है जैसे बैंक है, फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन है, एनबीएफसी है, उसको पे किया जाता है पहले, इंस्टेड ऑफ इक्विटी. इक्विटी सबसे लास्ट आता है. तो आपको बेसिकली समझ में आया व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन debt and equity. So debt is a loan, kind of loan given by you to certain individuals or this entity, और आप पैसा वापस आने का ज्यादा चांसेस है. वहां पे लॉस भी अच्छे खासे बने हुए हैं, जैसे एनसीएलटी नेशनल कंपनी लॉ ट्रिब्यूनल है, डेट रिकवरी ट्रिब्यूनल है, फॉर एनफोर्समेंट ऑफ सिक्योरिटी. जनरली कोई भी लोन देता है उसके अगेंस्ट गारंटी भी लेता है. कुछ एसेट आपके मॉर्गेज किए हुए थे, चार्ज किए हुए थे, उनका पर्सनल एसेट्स डायरेक्टर्स का आपके फेवर में लिया जाता है. सो लोन में रिकवरी के चांसेस ज्यादा है एज कम्पेयर टू इक्विटी. इक्विटी बाय नेचर इज अ रिस्की. आप इक्विटी में इन्वेस्ट करते हो तो आपको समझना है कि आप इक्विटी में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो तो आप ओनर बन रहे हो और या शेयर होल्डर बन रहे हो उस कंपनी के. तो आप साथ साथ में आफ्टर द मैनेजमेंट यू आर टेकिंग अ डिसीजन टू रन द कंपनी. सो वहां पे आपको चांसेस कम है. इक्विटी अगर आप अर्न करते हो तो आपके 1 रुपए का शेयर कुड बी 1000 रुपीज, कुड बी 2000 रुपीज, इट कुड बी एनी नंबर ऑफ दिस. वैल्यूएशन पार्ट भी हम शायद अगर टाइम अलाउ करेगा विल डिस्कस कि वैल्यूएशन ऑफ इक्विटी कैसे होता है. नाउ विल कम अ डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ एंटिटीज कहाँ का आप इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हो. जैसे हमने डिस्कस किया बैंक, तो बैंक है एक एंटिटी जहां पे आप करते हो इन्वेस्ट. दूसरा है म्यूचुअल फंड्स, आज के दिन में एसआईपीस आपको पता है, सिस्टमेटिक इन्वेस्टमेंट प्लान होता है. अभी म्यूचुअल फंड में आपको समझना होगा कि आप डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं कर रहे हो डेट और इक्विटी में, आप इनडायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हो, और आपके जो इन्वेस्टमेंट डिसीजन है वो फंड मैनेजर ले रहा है. द पर्सन हु इज हैंडलिंग द म्यूचुअल फंड इज एन एक्सपर्ट and it is registered with SEBI with a particular 10 years, 20 years, 25 years of experience, who takes a decision on your behalf to invest into any company as a debt or equity. अगर आप म्यूचुअल फंड लेते हो एसआईपी कोई भी, तो आपको पता चलेगा कि ये डेट वाला है या इक्विटी वाला है या बैलेंस फंड है. बैलेंस फंड में कुछ पोर्शन आपका जो आपसे लेते हैं एसआईपी से वो इक्विटी में डाला जाता है, कुछ डेट में डाला जाता है. सो इट्स अ बैलेंस फंड. सो देयर आर वेराइटी ऑफ फंड्स. वहां पे फंड मैनेजर होता है जो सेबी के साथ रजिस्टर्ड होता है, और म्यूचुअल फंड इटसेल्फ इज रजिस्टर्ड विद सेबी विद सर्टेन क्राइटेरियाज. सो वहां पे रिस्क कम है क्योंकि आप डे टू डे बेसिस पे उस कंपनी के बैलेंस शीट, उस कंपनी का परफॉर्मेंस नहीं देखोगे, बट वो फंड मैनेजर है, वो आपके बिहाफ पे देखेगा एज एन इन्वेस्टर्स. वो आपका इंटरेस्ट प्रोटेक्ट करेगा, और जब भी उसको लगेगा कि अगर ठीक से इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं हो रहा है, देयर आर नो ग्रोथ इन द फंड्स व्हिच आर इन्वेस्टेड, इट विल ट्राई टू पुल इट बैक एंड आपका पोर्टफोलियो सेफ रखने की कोशिश करता है. अब आ गया म्यूचुअल फंड से आके अब एक लेवल आगे आ जाते हैं जो अब तक डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट है. जैसे जनरली बोलते हैं, अरे यार तू कौन से स्टॉक में इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है, मुझे भी बता, यू आर अर्निंग गुड, विच स्टॉक शुड आई बाय. तो इसको क्या बोलता है, तुक्का लगाना. इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ बेट दैट यू पे. ओके, आप किसी को पूछते हो कि अरे इसमें क्या करूं, मैं कौन से शेयर में लगूं, मेरे पास 5,000 रुपए है तो मैं क्या करूं. सो देर इज नो नॉलेज अराउंड यू अबाउट द इक्विटी मार्केट. Somebody who does not registered with the SEBI or any authority will give you a guidance कि ये शेयर ले ले शायद चल जाए. So it's kind of future prediction and it is more riskier. And basis of some advice, if you invest into equity directly without any endurance or any particular analysis of the balance sheet, how it works, which industry. Supposingly आज के दिन में if I say if you want to into Tata invest into Tata Motors, supposingly hypothetically, what knowledge of the motor market you have, how many models they have, what is the management of Tata Motors, आपको कुछ भी नहीं पता as an investors. You take a decision basis presumption that if I put 1,000 I'll get a 10,000 supposingly. ऐसा होता नहीं. Stock market is volatile and it is subject to always a risk. इसलिए सेबी ने कुछ कुछ चीजें ऐसे बनाई हैं कि सारी इंफॉर्मेशन जो भी कंपनी का डिसीजंस होते हैं, कंपनी के अकाउंटिंग होते हैं एवरी क्वार्टरली, इट हैज टू बी पास ऑन टू द इन्वेस्टर और द शेयर होल्डर. ये पहले नहीं होता था. साल में एक ही बार कोई बैलेंस शीट बनता था और मिलता था. अभी एवरी क्वार्टर ऑल द लिस्टेड कंपनीज आर बाउंड टू मेक अ रिजल्ट and it has to be disclosed to all the participant of the stock market, investors. उनको within 30 minutes of that adoption of that accounts वो पब्लिक में डालना है. सो क्या होगा कि सारे इन्वेस्टर को वेल इन्फॉर्म्ड डिसीजन मिलेगा कि ये सिक्योरिटी में whether he wants to continue, whether he want to discontinue, whether he wants to keep it for 10 years, he want to sell it off right away because इसमें prospect नहीं दिख रहा है. So there are different type of investment. मैंने entities बता दिए. There are other entities जैसे आप फ्रेंड को लोन देते हैं, right? If my friend asks मेरे को 5 लाख रुपए चाहिए, if I want 5 lakh rupees, can you give it to me? Basis on my experience and relationship, I could give it. But if you don't do a financial analysis, you will end up losing that money. Okay, that is also an investment, but more riskier. There is no regulation. Nobody can help you. Only you can go to a civil code or criminal code to recover that fund, which is impossible because the kind of cases in India is not going, nobody is going to listen to you. So now you understand bit of the stock market, how it works, how, what is investor, how, what are the avenues available. There are multiple avenues apart from this is also available. But to give you a setup or mindset, what is the role and who all are investor, I have given a brief idea. Let me more break down this thing into a public company and a private company, because SEBI is more regulating to a companies rather than individuals and others. So private company and public company. So आपने सुना ही होगा private company होता है. Private company is like 2% can start it and they can restrict, take a fund from a only relative, director, shareholder and close network of people. If I run a company, I can go to only 200 person in a year, and I will restricted not to give any advertisement or public advertisement, or should not be invite to any of the public to invest in my company. So private company is very restricted. Still, it is governed by the Companies Act. Any company which is registered under Companies Act, there are rules and regulation under Companies Act, which is again a expected behavior from any company. अगर आप rules regulation Companies Act भी पढ़ोगे, तो there are more of कि how loan should be taken, how the asset should be disposed, how investment should be made by the company. So Companies Act is more again regulating the company and administrating. और आपके account जमा करने हैं ROC में, आपको every year आपको annual return बताना है. So kind of private company ko bhi they are also trying, because today if private company take NCDs or loan from bank, financial institution of 100 crores, and we say it is a private company, तो आपका पैसा इनडायरेक्टली लग रहा है क्योंकि आपने एफडी में पैसा डाला है and bank is investing into giving loan to the private company. So what happens if that private company does not pay to the bank, you will ultimately losing your FD, right? So it is not that private company है तो सिर्फ उसको नहीं regulate करना है. So there is a regulator like we call Ministry of Corporate Affairs or Register of Companies. ये regulatory authority, they are regulating the private companies more so ever. And we'll come to a public company, which is more fantastic. There's more, because public company can become a listed company. So the play around of SEBI is with public companies. So public company is a company where you can take funds from a public. We do not have to have any relationship. There is no close circle of network or the connects of the people. यू कैन एक्सेस. आज कोई भी कंपनी आती है, 3 साल का प्रॉफिट है मेरा, बैलेंस शीट लेके आती है, सेबी के पास जाती है. टू गिव अ रिसेंट एग्जांपल, जोमेटो, आपने सबने सुना ही होगा. जोमेटो हैड कम. नाउ पेटीएम, somebody people have invested in Paytm. So जो भी pricing valuation that was decided, now it is the stock is trading at less than 50% prices. So it is like that. So public company is always subject to market risk, and you have to understand before investing. So public company basically access a people, bunch of people, or crores or millions of billions of people. Without knowing them, you can invest into company basis of prospector. Prospector yani there is a booklet which is, I know, very simple term. It's a booklet of 100 pages where वो बताते हैं कि promoter क्या करता था, directors का क्या background है, इनके कितने plans है, how they have earned the profits, and what are the risk factor which people ignore. Risk factor is the biggest section of the prospector, which runs around 30 to 40 pages. What all risks are involved in this business, वो इग्नोर करते हुए भी people take risk, because once you take a risk there is a reward. This is how the stock market works. So I give this idea is public and private company, आपको differentiation पता चल गया. अब the most important topic, what to protect, it is what is the interest, what is the right. So right of investor क्या है, what is the right? So I should be treated equally or at par, in English में बोलते हैं, with all other investors. अगर आप किसी एक को डिविडेंड दे रहे हो तो वो मुझे भी मिलना चाहिए. If you are paying a dividend to one shareholder, I should also get it. If you are providing bonus to one shareholder, I should also get it. Okay. If I, as a shareholder, taking a risk, I should be getting all the notices, document, communication which is required to be sent to the shareholders. I should be allowed to participate in general meetings of the company. जनरल मीटिंग वो होती है जहां पे शेयर होल्डर को बुलाया जाता है, दे हैव बीन गिवन एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू टॉक विद द मैनेजमेंट ऑफ द कंपनी and raise appropriate questions. Because by investing into one share, you cannot go to the chairman of the company and ask the question, but still law allows you that right at an appropriate forum, which is called as general meeting. There has to be a compulsorily one annual general meeting which happens every year, where shareholder can raise their queries and get the satisfactory answer from the management or the chairman of the company. So to give you an example, you also know lot of chairmen of the group, like Tata, we have Ratan Tata, then again Wipro, we have Aziz Premji, and Reliance, we have Mukesh Ambani. So there are a lot of chairmen and board which runs the company. Okay, तो आप वहां पे जाके you can ask the relevant question and get the appropriate answer from the management. So these all are the rights. Slowly will come into the what other rights. Supposingly for a listed company, जैसे मैंने बोला है, you must have seen, all have seen Harshad Mehta web series, where it bases on the insider information he used to trade. Okay, there are insider. Who all are insider? Those who are in the company, those who are handling the company are called as insider, and they will definitely have better information than you have as an investors. So अभी मैं आपको एक example देता हूँ. I am working for a company and I know this company is going to get a contract of 1,000 crore, and basis this information I can buy this stock which is traded on the stock exchange at a very lower price. Supposingly if you have at the same time the same information कि 1,000 crore का contract मिलने वाला, you will also try to pull the stocks from the market कि मेरे को दे दो. But because you don't have that information, आपको पता नहीं है कि वो उसके ये जो शेयर है मार्केट पे उठा रहा है और फ्यूचर में जब बेचा ये बेच देगा जब इंफॉर्मेशन पब्लिक में आ जाएगी. सो विच इज कॉल्ड एज इनसाइडर ट्रेडिंग. वो इंडिया में काफी सारे केसेस में हुआ है. हर्षद मेहता स्कीम वाज द वन ऑफ द स्कीम. इसलिए सेबी हैड कम विद सम डायरेक्शन कि इनसाइडर ट्रेडिंग कैसे प्रोटेक्ट करना है. सो मैं ऐसे बोलूँ कि देयर आर सर्टेन राइट्स, जैसे डिविडेंड मिलना चाहिए, इन्फॉर्मेशन मिलना चाहिए, आपको ट्रीट करना चाहिए सब शेयर होल्डर के साथ. यू बीन गिवन एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टॉक विद द मैनेजमेंट एंड ऑल. सो दीज ऑल आर द ब्रॉडर राइट. ओके, अब हम आएंगे कि सेबी का क्या रोल है. आई जस्ट शेयर माय पीपीटी विद यू गाइस. वन सेकेंड. Yeah, you all can see my PPT. Yeah. So let us go to the topic. Yes. ओके, सो सेबी के बारे में जान लेते हैं कि सेबी क्या है। सो सेबी का फुल फॉर्म है सिक्योरिटी एंड एक्सचेंज बोर्ड ऑफ इंडिया। सेबी इज स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी, जैसे हमने बताया कि कोई भी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया में जो भी स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी है वो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया सेटअप करता है। अब सेटअप कर दिया, बट क्या ऐसा हो रहा था, व्हाट वाज द रॉन्ग व्हिच वाज गोइंग ऑन, कि जिसके लिए सेबी को सेटअप करना पड़ा, व्हाट वाज द मिसचीफ, और कोई गलत चीज हो रही थी उसके लिए सेबी को करना पड़ा। सो जनरली जब भी सेबी या कोई भी अथॉरिटी बनता है, देयर इज एन एक्ट, सेबी एक्ट 1992। उसके प्रीएम्बल में, उसके जो प्रीएम्बल में लिखा जाता है व्हाई इट हैज बीन फॉर्म। So it is to regulate the security market in India and to protect the interest of the investor in securities. Okay, so SEBI has come with a vision that it has to protect the interest of the investor, and also it has to regulate the functioning of the stock market, mutual fund and intermediaries. अब ये intermediaries थोड़ा word सबको शायद नहीं पता होगा। Intermediaries is a person who is an act as a work in a stock market, or it is concerned with a security, supposingly broker is an intermediary। वो आपके behalf पे deal करता है, आपके बिहाफ पे शेयर परचेस करता है और अकाउंट सेल सेटल करता है। T+2 अगर आप लोगों ने सुना होगा, कोई भी शेयर परचेस होता है वो ट्रांजैक्शन +2 days में सेटल होता है। सो इंटरमीडियरी इज अ पर्सन हु वर्क्स अराउंड द सिक्योरिटी मार्केट एंड हैज टू बी रजिस्टर्ड विद सेबी। तो जो भी स्टॉक मार्केट से जुड़ा हुआ है, एनी पर्सन हु इज कनेक्टेड टू द सिक्योरिटी मार्केट हैज टू बी registered with SEBI, so SEBI can set a criteria or SEBI उसको registration देगा, and supposingly if they are doing wrong or they are not following the rules and regulation frame for them, then they can punish. I'll give you one more example for you. Investment advisor, बहुत सारे आपने सुना होगा, मोतीलाल ओसवाल या IIFL, these all are investment advisor plus broker. So अगर आप उसके पास जाओगे कि मेरे पास 1 लाख रुपया है और मुझे इन्वेस्ट करना है, so they will guide you how to invest and they will become your investment advisor, and for that they have to get registered with SEBI. अभी ये आप बोल रहे हो कि SEBI 1992 में आया, उसके पहले कौन था? How the stock market used to run and how the public used to do IPO, कैसे चलता था? So before SEBI came into picture, there was a capital controller of India which used to call CCI. तो सीसीआई क्या करता था? जनरली जो भी आपका प्रोस्पेक्टर है, जो अभी आप सेबी के साथ फाइल कर रहे हो, जो मैंने बताया कि जो भी कंपनी लिस्टेड हो रही है सेबी के साथ प्रोस्पेक्टर फाइल करती है, सेबी क्लियर से, सीसीआई यूज्ड टू लुक इनटू दैट एंड बेसिस ऑफ सम देयर प्रीवियस एक्सपीरियंस यूज्ड टू क्लियर इट। बट सीसीआई का रोल क्या होता था? वंस द शेयर्स आर लिस्टेड, दे नेवर यूज्ड टू कम इनटू द पिक्चर, दे यूज्ड टू ओनली क्लियर आईपीओ। आप फंड लेने जा रहे हो, आई विल जस्ट असिस्ट this and I'll give you the clearance or the approval is the case. So their role is to clear the IPOs or the public raising of the fund is limited to that extent, but they were never ever come to the next step, which is a largest step कि आपने पैसा ले लिया, once you have taken a money, what you are doing with that money, whether you are in line with the best practices, whether you are informing your shareholder, whether you are doing justice to the funds you have taken, which SEBI has came into picture, and SEBI has set a certain regulation कि post IPO or post raising of the fund आपको क्या करना चाहिए, what is the expected behavior. So is objective of the SEBI, it is more detailed now, to regulate and develop a code of conduct for intermediaries such as broker, underwriters, etc., which मैंने explain किया कि उनके लिए registration होगा, and then they will be governed by the rules and regulation, and there has to develop a code of conduct जो सेबी ने उनको दिए कि आपको 10 practices ये करने हैं। I'll give you some simple example. If you are a broker and you come to know कि ये script में कुछ फायदा होने वाला है, you should restrict and should not trade in that security basis of that information, which comes in your code of conduct. But अगर if you know some insider information and you deal and you आपके client को भी आप फायदा करवाते हो, this is not allowed, and if SEBI comes with an inquiry or investigation, then this broker will be penalized. Okay, to regulate the security markets and for matters connected therewith and incidental there. Okay, तो जो भी सिक्योरिटी मार्केट है, सिक्योरिटी मींस व्हाट? शेयर्स, स्टॉक्स, डिबेंचर्स, ये सारा सिक्योरिटीज बोला जाता है इन अ ब्रॉडर टर्म। एनी कन्वर्टेबल इंस्ट्रूमेंट, वारंट्स, आप बहुत सारे नाम कुछ भी बोल दो, एनीथिंग व्हिच इंस्ट्रूमेंट व्हिच being used by the company or issued by the company in return of money taken from the investors. बेसिकली इज अ सिक्योरिटी मार्केट में जो भी है, सो सेबी गवर्न करता है उसको, और सेबी रेगुलेशन है इफ द फंड्स आर बीइंग टेकन फ्रॉम द पब्लिक। ये इंपॉर्टेंट ठीक है। सो सेबी जनरली comes into picture only when the funds are being taken from public at large. Protect the interest of the investor, which we all have discussed, because SEBI how it protects, we'll see it. To prevent fraudulent and malpractices by having a balance between self-regulation of business and its statutory regulation. So fraudulent practices मैंने बोल दिया ना, जैसे आपको कंपनी के बारे में कुछ इनसाइडर इंफॉर्मेशन है तो आप बताते हो, बहुत जन जानबूझ के शेयर के प्राइसेस बढ़ा देते हैं, ओके, basis on some information and all trading, which earlier it is called dabba trading, where there is no value of the stock, but the sum of the brokers creates an value. So आपको पता है कि वैल्यू कैसे बनता है, how the shares or the securities are traded on the stock market. There is a demand, there is a supply. If there is a demand is high, the price will go up. If demand is low, price will go down. So it is not basis of fundamentals. It is between demand and supply, the price is determined. Okay, so price determined hota hai, so basis that you can play around. Okay, I can buy 1000 shares, again buy 1000 shares at particular price, so price will go up. There is no actually fundamental movement or there is change in the company's position, but I can make a market. People used to call them as market makers. So these kind of fraudulent and malpractices are not allowed, and SEBI always insists between a self regulation. वो क्या चाहता है कि एज अ कंपनी आप खुद से करो, ये एक्सपेक्टेड बिहेवियर है, और कुछ चीजें मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि ये कंपलसरी करो, कुछ चीजें मैं बताऊंगा कि वॉलंटरीली करो, बट आप करो इसको तो अच्छा रहेगा. दिस इज हाउ देयर इज अ बैलेंस बिटवीन अ सेल्फ रेगुलेशन एंड स्टैट्यूटरी रेगुलेशन. So SEBI always tries to emphasize on the self regulation and a statutory. तो मैं बोलता हूँ कि आपको ये करना ही है, जैसे बच्चों को हम समझाते हैं कि आपको ये करना ही है और ये भी करना है, आप करोगे तो आपको मैं स्टार्स दूंगा, काइंड ऑफ. सो दिस इज हाउ द एक्सपेक्टेड बिहेवियर इज, कि आप ये करोगे तो ये अच्छा होगा और ये करोगे तो और अच्छा होगा, काइंड ऑफ दैट थिंग. सो नाउ व्हिच वी विल डिस्कस, व्हिच ऑल ऑफ अस लाइक्ड इट, हर्षद मेहता स्कैम. सो हर्षद मेहता स्कैम में आप अगर जिसने वेब सीरीज नहीं दिखा है तो आई विल गिव यू हाउ ही हैज मैनिपुलेटेड द स्टॉक मार्केट. What he used to do, he used to take a funds of the banks. Okay, he used to take a bank के fund ले लेता था and used to invest into stock market and used to create a demand for particular stock. He used to allow that stock to go at particular price and then he pull out his money and makes the money and all other investors are doomed. People has that assumption कि हर्षद मेहता ने सबको पैसा बना के दिया. He never those who have given a faith to him, उसको कमा के दिया. He never allowed them to make a loss. But ऐसा allowed नहीं है. So if you are using funds of the bank which are public fund and you are not informing bank that I am investing this fund into stock market, which is a crime, because the funds which are kept in FD are used are allowed to use for a particular purpose. You cannot trade in the stock market, which is not determined. आज एक stock का price 1000 rupees है, कल it could be zero also. So that was the kind of scam Harshad Mehta has done it. So to stop that, SEBI had came to know, RBI came to know, and he was been arrested. He was on trial for I think more than a decade, and he died in the jail without any final conclusion. But it was a scam around 5,000 crore. Can you understand the amount of that 5,000 crore at 1992, where we were starting, India was starting to liberalize at that time, right? Because we as a country had opened our door for FDI and all other things by 90s, where liberalized era was started. At that time, this scam has shook the Indian stock market, and it was very easy to manipulate because it was like all on paper. There was no regulation. SEBI was there. And let me tell you, SEBI was there, but it was not introduced as a formal body. It was an informal body at that time on a pilot basis. So they were not given any power at that time, but SEBI was formed on paper saying that you just see it how this could be a better. So this time SEBI then given a formal stamp by the government of India. Now it's you are a statutory body and you can take this as a governing body of the stock market. So hope and say after SEBI realized that this kind of scams can happen later on. they have started or come up with, because I said all was physical. People used to go to that PSC building and used to bid for the shares and all. And there's no clarity who is bidding for who, because you will not come to know who is the actual investor, because only broker meets to each other, will never come to know who is buying this stock. Okay, so SEBI has come with a first and foremost as NSE, which is a national stock exchange, where all in the India can on a one platform can do it. Then BSE at that time, Bombay Stock Exchange, the oldest stock exchange of Asia, not in India, it is in Asia's oldest stock exchange. They have been allowed pushed to become an online screen-based trading. In 90s 2000 they pushed them to have a online trading instead of paper trading, because I'll tell you what used to happen in a paper trading. If you all are a commerce student, if you understand, there is a share certificate against which the shares are given, which is in physical mode. Basis that somebody can manipulate and give it to you, which is also wrong also, or you cannot authenticate it is issued by the company or not. So that kind of also scam used to happen, because SEBI come with a dematerialization concept and came with a online trading concept, where there is accounts are being opened and freely shares can be traded amongst the investors. These all are the learnings which came from the Harshit Mehta scam. Okay, SEBI had also introduced full disclosure requirement, saying that as and when you know some information which will have impact on the securities of the company should be informed to the SEBI and the stock exchanges. So in my earlier next last 10 minutes, which we discussed, if there is something which is having an impact on the price, which I said, if you know that company is going to get a 1000 crore contract, which is short, then this information should be passed on to all the investors, SEBI and stock exchange within 24 hours. You should not wait, because if you allow this information to be in internal, and if other shareholders are not informed, then you have a chance that particular people or particular set of 10 to 15 people, or maybe a bunch of people, will have access and will determine the price of the future right now and make gain out of the security, which is not being done. Also, they have come with a code of advertisement which was introduced that company should disclose. So there is an advertisement clear, there's a code introduced by the SEBI which says that how you should disclose the information. The next biggest scam is Satyam scam. Chairman of Satyam Computer, which was ultimately Satyam was taken over by the Mahindra, because this company was not doing well. Mahindra took over and this company is still live. So in this Satyam Computer, what has happened? Okay, so give you a more clear view towards a professional. SEBI rely on the professional like CA, company secretaries and CWA. So SEBI had given a audit. As you all know, audit is being done by the chartered accountants, and they've been appointed for doing an audit of a listed company. And they basis of their audit means they checks the books of the accounts of the company. They determine whether this profit is correct, this stock which is shown in the balance sheet is correct, whether the all profit is true, giving a true and fair view of the financials. So auditor being highly relied by Government of India, SEBI and all as an investor. In this scam, Satyam Computer, Mr. Ramalingan, Raju, who is the chairman, who was the chairman of Satyam Computer, with the help of auditor, has manipulated the balance sheet. जो चीज था ही नहीं बैलेंस शीट में उसने दिखाया, राइट, बिकॉज ही हैज मैनिपुलेटेड टॉप लाइन यानी रेवेन्यू को गलत दिखा के he has shown that company is earning good profit and that profit is parked at fixed deposit. वो बैंक में रखा हुआ है 5,000 करोड़, जबकि वो कभी था ही नहीं, it was never ever there. But basis that people used to invest into Satyam Computers. Then SEBI took that initiative and investigated into the matter, and where Mr. Ramalingam, who was chairman, has accepted that he has manipulated the accounts of the company, which is he was put behind the bar by SEBI. And the auditors, which was PwC, Price Waterhouse and Cooper, was also been debarred for doing audit for listed company for 2 years, and the partners of the PwC who used to do audit were also penalized. So see, the scam can happen at any point of time. It can be happen from the intermediary, it can happen from a company, it can happen through professionals. So once you invest into security market, there are a lot of risks which are involved. So SEBI, what steps SEBI has taken once they came to know about this kind of fraudulent behavior? Okay, SEBI had started regular monitoring of all transactions of all the listed companies, especially related party transactions. If you know, related party transaction means it is between, supposingly I and my brother are on the board of the company. Okay, and my brother is not qualified to be on the board, but still I'm giving a 5 crore salary yearly. Would that be justifiable? No, because it's a related party transaction. Because he being my brother, I used to pay to him a 5 crore salary. So this kind of transaction, SEBI has started monitoring. What SEBI has introduced, appointment of an independent director on the board. Generally, क्या होता है in Indian companies? People have their family members as the board of director of the company. If you go to any board, all dada, mama, kaki, chacha, chachi, whosoever is the board member who never ask you a question. Whatever you want to pass, you can just surpass whatever you want to do it. So SEBI bola, nahi, you don't have to like this. If you are taking money from the public, let one or two, whatever the number of independent director. Independent director means who is not your relative, who is not connected to you, who does not get any remuneration from you, and he hold high integrity, skills, and reputation in the market. Okay, that kind of directors you have to introduce on the board, and who will take a fair decision on behalf of the shareholder. You cannot decide I'll pay to my brother 5 crore a salary. I'll pay my wife 2 crore salary. It is not your money. It is a money which is given by a public to utilize for expansion of your business, not for your personal wealth. So this kind of initiative were taken by the SEBI. Several audit norms were introduced, and then they, for listed company, they have mandated कंपल्सरी रोटेशन. एक ऑडिटर एट अ टाइम 5 years ही रह सकता है. पहले क्या होता था, जो ऑडिटर था मेरे पापा के टाइम पे था, 50 साल से वही है, उसका बेटा ऑडिटर, मैं भी उसका बेटा, एंड यूज्ड टू चलते ही रहता था. सो घर जैसा रिलेशन विद ऑडिटर, व्हिच इज अ रिस्कियर पार्ट ऑफ इट इन इंडिया. Okay, so basis of your relationship, and because you are getting a revenue from particular company, you will bound to make a favorable decision to the promoter of the company. SEBI said nothing doing. You have to have an auditor only for 5 years. Once this 5-year term is done, you have to, there is a cooling period concept, 5 years gap, then only you can introduce, and with the subject of shareholders approval only. A record for all transactions with respect to the stock market to be maintained by the companies for inspection by the SEBI. Certain amount of information which SEBI can inspect at any point of time. Gradually after this 2008, all the disclosure has to be put on the website, because now we are technically and digitally we are growing. So there are a lot of avenues. Even nowadays, companies are sending a email to you saying that these are my financial results. This is the corporate action which we are going to do. You need not to go to your website of stock exchange. This kind of initiative have taken by the SEBI, which force a company to send you a personalized email. You're sitting at here, you come to know what decisions are being taken by the board of director within 24 hours of the decision being taken. So SEBI can access all this document, and within a fraction of second. Earlier, what used to happen, people used to send a disclosure in a physical mode to the stock exchange. Stock exchange used to take their own sweet time, and then they pass it on to somebody else, until that time that information itself become a public. So now, because of advantage of technology, within a fraction of second, in BSE there is a there is a bar which shows that within how much fraction of second, it is a nanosecond within which the disclosure are being displayed on the BSE site or NSE site. So the kind of awareness is being given to the investor. This is happening at the company. Supposingly, I'll give you an example to set your mind ki what information will make you your decision to invest or remain invested. Supposingly, the promoter of the company got arrested for whatsoever reason. Would like to be continue with this security where the promoters are being arrested? No. So within a fraction of second, if you come to know of this information, because you have a correct information, you can take a correct decision, right? So this is how the SEBI has improved, because never people used to not get any information from the company, and there is no way. So today SEBI has introduced their mechanism, which is called Score SEBI, SEBI Score site, where investor of any listed company can go and register a complaint within a fraction of second, and there is a timeline within 2 working days they have to revert. If they do not revert, SEBI will come catch hold on them, and they will push company to provide information. Otherwise, they will put penalty on the companies. So this is how slowly and gradually the things are improving. One more scam. Why I'm saying scam? Because you know this has happened and this has to be cured. Slowly, SEBI has introduced the measure. So SEBI's roles in protecting investors is lies on the scam. Once the scam has happened, and they will come back with the new ideas. It is not like that as they are reactive only. They are proactive also. They have introduced several laws or several regulations without scam being happening. But I'm saying because of that impact, they realize there is a loophole which has to be plugged in. Okay, and basis that they have reacted very quickly as compared to the other authorities, because generally judiciary system takes a lot of time to take a decision, where the SEBI was so proactive. Within a 3 months or 6 months of the scam happening, they will come back with a good regulation and try to plug in the loopholes and punish the people who is involved into this kind of scam. Sada scam. It is a Sudipto Sen, the chairman of the chit fund company called Shraddha Group, which is in, I think most of you must have heard, it is of Kolkata based company. Okay, they used to take funds from, they call as a chit fund, or in a very day-to-day life, people also know as a friend you used to collect something on a weekly basis, and then you have to a party like kitty party for females, and then you distribute the funds, this kind of thing. But the magnitude of this 2,500 collected without any proper license, and they used to operate in Kolkata based, not they were not cheat fund, not registered with any authority, and taken so much of money, and there was no clue where the funds being are used. And then SEBI investigated and realized that this is fraud being done by the promoter of the this Sharda scam. These were still the inquiries have been going on. I'll tell you how the SEBI works. Once they come to know there is a fraud, they prepare a list of the investor. Supposingly there is a 25,000 investor, they will prepare a list of investors. They will see how the much amount is being paid by the investor and try to recover that fund through SEBI mechanism and pay it to you. This is how much the proactive the SEBI is. This has also happened in Sahara scam. Okay, Sahara scam, 24,000 scam, more than 30 million. So it is more than 3 crore investors were invested into this. This is which is called as deposit. Like you keep a deposit in a bank, this Sahara real estate and Sahara housing has collected deposit. I'll tell you the good story about it. That's half of them is still people doesn't know from which source this money has come. Okay. Still SEBI, if you go to the SEBI website, if there is a Sahara, you have to press 1. If you call them, there is a separate customer care kind of thing being treatment is given to Sahara scam, because say SEBI came to know this is not allowed. You cannot take funds from public like deposit. And they also realize there is some fishiness because they don't have proper list of the investor which disclose the कि कैसे पैसा आया, from किससे आया. I'll tell you the name Pappu, Chanku, Bunny, ऐसा सब नाम लिख के they have taken a lot of money. This is a fact. You can see the other YouTube video also. So the kind of magnitude was involved. SEBI came into picture. Though this is not a listed company, it is unlisted company. But because SEBI is formed with the purpose of protecting the interest of the investor, they took this case in their custody and they have taken all the money and put with them in an escrow account. And as and when you say and give a genuine receipt that you have paid to Sahara, they are refunding back to the money to the investors. So this is how the proactiveness is like that. They could have said that SEBI, मैं SEBI हूँ, मैं क्यों करूँ unlisted company का? But they have realized there's something wrong, and there is a whistleblower. Somebody blows the whistle, and SEBI is so active, they take action against the. So this Sahara scam you all must have heard. So now you understand what is the Sahara scam. Sahara scam, which is unlisted company, taken funds as a deposit from lot of investors and use that fund. And there are half of the investor which is really does not exist in the world. So what is the source of that fund? So SEBI has taken interest of the investor and also protected the interest of the India, because we should not have such kind of fund where you are not knowing 15,000 crore has come from which entity, which person, right? which is also not allowed, which is separate money laundering laws comes into picture, which and Sahara scam, Subrata Roy, who's the chairman, was given a guilty by the Supreme Court because he fought so much. He went up to Supreme Court. Supreme Court also saying that you provide the name of the investors who has invested and refund whatever you have taken from the genuine investors. This is what the condition is. So what kind of measures? So to simplify, what things which we have to summarize कि SEBI ने अभी तक क्या किया है. So there is an investor interest advertisement चलते रहता है. Mutual fund सही है. If you see which is done by the SEBI through MFI. Mutual fund में कौन से type के investment होते हैं. Like RBI कहता है ना, RBI कहता है सतर्क रहिए. Kind of SEBI is also doing. Investor has to be before investing into, and you must have heard investment in security market are subject to market risk. ये line अगर आपने सुना होगा, wherever you see any IPO coming in or any securities is being done by the SEBI, it is mandated by the SEBI. Investor education, SEBI, NSC, BSC, all are taking lot of investor education initiative by organizing webinar like this webinar. We are educating investor or future investors. जो BAF के अभी student है, there will be a future investor education में. इसके लिए उनको we are giving and imparting knowledge how should invest and what are your right and where if you stuck and you are not able to enforce the right, where you have to go, which I say if you are invested into listed company, there is a SEBI score site where you can go and lodge your complaint. Supposingly, interestingly, I'll tell you one story. If somebody who has bought shares of ₹1 and आज उसका value 10,000 rupees है, मेरे दादाजी ने लिए हुए थे शेयर सपोजिंग, एंड वन फाइन डे आई केम टू नो कि 2 करोड़ का शेयर्स मेरे पास पड़ा हुआ है, ओके, इन अ फिजिकल फॉर्म, एंड यू राइट बैक टू अ कंपनी एंड यू गेट अ शॉक कि ये शेयर किसी और के नाम हो चुके हैं विदाउट योर कंसेंट. ओके, सो अब क्या करोगे? वेयर you will go to the SEBI, write to a SEBI and give the evidence that you are holding the shareholder and you are the genuine successor in a legal term or a legal heir. Then SEBI will help you. And this kind of cases, 2 crore, I am saying very small amount. There are cases around lot of company, ACC, Harshad Mehta scheme, it was gone to now it is trading like so much. Tata, Reliance, all companies have been at that time issued at 10 rupees, 15 rupees, are trading at 4,000, 5,000 rupees. And you come to know that these shares are with you and you never realized, but because of some of fraud, company saying that it does not belong to you. So there is an SEBI which helps you to get that. This is one of the example. Like dividend also, every year shareholders are getting dividend. Okay, SEBI and MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, said that if 7 years and more somebody is not claiming the dividend, let us deposit that amount with me. I will hold on their behalf, and as and when that shareholder or the investor comes, I will pay that money to that investors, right? So in 2016, Mr. Narendra Modi, with the kind of cleaning of India, he has started striking of a lot of company which are shell company. Shell company यानी कोई भी business नहीं कर रहा था, इतने सालों से पड़ा था, तो उनको उड़ा दिया. Second step, what he has taken is whatsoever the shares जिसपे 7 साल से ज्यादा dividend कभी claim नहीं हुआ, ये जो shares है वो भी government को दे दो. Because what used to happen, which I told, when you write back to a company saying that this share is being held by me or my father or my grandfather, company को पता ही नहीं होता था, because there are 70 years, 80 years which has been passed by and nobody knows it कि क्या हुआ इसके साथ. So government ने बोला as a company you identify कि ऐसे कितने शेयर होल्डर है जिसका शेयर्स आप बोल सकते हो कि 7 साल से मुझे ये ट्रेसेबल नहीं है, मुझे दे दो, I'll hold and their behalf. This is also one of the measures taken by the SEBI or the government of India, where the shares of a listed company are being transferred with the government, and as and when you feel there's no timeline, okay, after 10 years also you realize no, you will able to get that shares. Dealing with the complaint of investor, which we have discussed, post MCA has also, Ministry of Corporate Affairs has there also their department to handle the complaints of the investors. Disclosure by company, which we have discussed in depth, as and when कब disclosure देना चाहिए. So there is a clear guideline किस case में देना चाहिए. There are 50 instances SEBI ने खुद ने दिए हैं, and you have to, as a company, you have to also determine the policy for disclosing. There is a concept called materiality policy, where the material information about the company has to be disclosed. सेटअप ऑफ आईपीएफ फंड वेयर द अगर कोई क्लेम नहीं कर रहा है, पैसा इतने सालों से डिविडेंड नहीं ले रहा है, ऑल हैज हैपेंड, it this all fund will not go to the pocket of company, it will come back to investor education protection fund. These funds are being used for the investor education and they're helping them. So this is again kind of CSR kind of thing which some investors are not claiming their funds, which should be utilized to help the others. Scores anyways we have discussed. uh there's a Q&A round. Okay, I think I have completed, or ma'am still I have a time to discuss something.
Yes, sir. There are the few questions which are there in
Okay.
the chat
Okay.
box.
Okay.
Like number one question is, what should SEBI do to safeguard the investors' interest?
SEBI, first and foremost, which I explained while my discussion, they give a training and education to the investors. Supposingly, you are not able to get your dividend or shares, there is a proper mechanism. Within 2 days, company has to revert. Third, sometime you have stuck like Sahara company. There is PACL, one of more company where again 10,000 crore was stuck. There is a separate helpline number. If you have or invested in this company, you can call SEBI and provide your PAN number and the receipt. They will give you a funds after verification of your KYC document within 7 days. So SEBI is taking lot of measures to protect, and very, very quick. If you ask me, I have not seen any authority which is being regulated by the government being so fast. And let me tell you, they have hired a people from which IAS and all MBAs, and who has professionals, and there is a strict competitive exam if you are being appointed with SEBI. And again, there is a lot of criteria at particular stage, because they have this kind of talent and there is no corruption at SEBI level. It is very, very fast as compared to the other authorities.
Okay. So another question is, who regulates SEBI?
SEBI is being regulated by basically Government of India. It comes under Finance Ministry. Whosoever authority like MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, whosoever deal with security, finance are being regulated by Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
So it is Government of India through Ministry of Finance.
And one last question, how far the SEBI has been successful in protecting the interest of the investors till date?
So if you ask me a ratio number term, I would say maybe around 60%. There are a lot to think to go, because technology putting a lot of advantage but disadvantages. Like WhatsApp is protected. So nowadays SEBI is let me share you the interesting fact, like insider trading. Earlier, if I know the information, I'll trade on your behalf, because you and I don't have any relationship. I'll use Varsha's Demat account to do a trading, but there is no official relationship with us. But supposingly, if you are my Facebook friend, okay, and I'm part of the company, still you're being catch up by the SEBI, because they treat any Facebook friend or a WhatsApp friend or the Instagram friend is a connected person. The kind of research they do before investigating the thing, because otherwise you will easily manipulate. I don't have any relationship. I don't know Varsha how she came to know, because we are supposedly a Facebook friend or a Instagram friend whatsoever. Still SEBI is kind of taking so much of initiative to protect the investor, but it is a long way to go, because I told my in the presentation, SEBI wants to be a self-regulated entity also, and there is a push from their side. So good companies like top 500 companies, top 500 companies means the companies which are having a capital higher than other companies who are fitting into bracket of 500 companies are expected with a lot of other behavior which are not applicable to the small listed company. So SEBI wants them to be more proactive, because their trading happens, their actual stake is involved. So SEBI is by far, if you ask in numerical, this is my number, there's no logical reason about it, but 60 to 70%, I would say they've been very good and helping the investors.
One more questions now it comes. Which concrete steps SEBI takes to avoid insider trading?
So SEBI has now recent 1 year trading window closure. That is called where the financial results are being prepared. So every quarter you have to give a financial result to the stock exchange. Earlier it used to happen before 7 days of the board meeting, the trading window closure. I'll explain you what is trading window closure. Trading window closure means if you are working with a Tata group of company, okay, so you will not trade into the security of Tata group of companies till the time that result will become a public, or there is a silence period where you will not be trade at all in these securities. So earlier it used to be for 7 days. Okay, this was only for 7 days. Now SEBI had come with an idea. Moment your closure of this quarter closes, supposingly it is 31st December, from 1st January till the result become public, you are not supposed to trade. So this kind of measure always SEBI comes, and there are a lot of penalties being put. Let me tell you, the upper limit is 3 times of the profit or 25 crore, whichever is higher. Recent example, nowadays SEBI, before SEBI, only board of the companies are putting penalties. One of the recent example, last week, ICICI Bank director by default during trading window has traded inadvertently. They have been levied penalty of 13 lakh. Okay, so it is not that SEBI is not watching you. SEBI is watching you, and they want you to be proactive as a board, as a management first, and then they should come act as a second person. Okay, this is what the self-regulation is.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for a
Thank
nice
you.
explanation and simplified way. You have explained us the various gist of 4 scams which happens, which lead to the SEBI to take precautionary actions and to modify our stock market trading. Like because of that, we are now doing the online trading, that is screen-based trading, because of such scams happened prior when CCI was regulating our stock market. So thank you so much for your valuable inputs. You have explained very well the gist of all the scams and what exactly the role of SEBI is, not only just to directly regulate the rights, investors' rights, but also to give the education to the investors. And I must say, students has already visited the SEBI head office in BKC, and they had
Yeah,
also
it is at
been.
BKC.
Yes, they had also been in NSE, National Stock Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange, and NISM, where they have learned how to do the mock trading, okay, through Money Control website. So because of this lockdown, we are unable to move there to the physical visits, but with this seminars, with this webinars, we are getting the knowledge. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to
Thank
thank to
you.
the management, technical team, and to the resource person. Thank you so much.
Thank you.